Yeah, hi there, this is tuxocher.com. Welcome on my video channel. In today's video, we want to take a closer look on the basics of Luminar NEO and Luminar AI, because I think they share a almost common engine, and the differences between those two programs and app. And maybe we take a look on what might be next in the development on Luminar NEO. If you ask yourself why I didn't do a video right after the official publishing of Luminar NEO on February 17th, that is pretty simple to say, because let's say it this way, I was a little bit angry because the affiliates are under embargo not to publish any video or blog posts until the official release date. But on the other hand, customers who got an early access version were allowed to publish blog posts and videos from February 10th, when the early access update 2 was released. So I didn't feel like releasing a video right away after the official release. And of course, the video I did on Luminar NEO with landscape photography and image processing for landscape around 2 weeks ago was almost the final version. The only difference were the presets and the layer, but that didn't make a difference for this item. But now let's take a closer look on the differences between Luminar NEO and Luminar AI on the desktop PC on a Windows version. Okay, I started here the latest version of Luminar NEO, and that is, if we take a look on the version, that is the version 1.0.1. That is probably due to the fact that some of the Windows versions had trouble to start. So Skylum updated the version, and so we are not on the version 1.0. Okay, but what did I do is just for comparison, I here got the images in a very small catalog in Luminar NEO, and I already did the same thing in Luminar AI. And probably can see the first difference is that the order of the, I call it grid view, is sort of different depending if the images are in landscape or portrait format. That isn't really that important, but if you consider that this size of the preview images is the smallest I can get. If I go here, I only got the medium and maybe here large and even larger format. We can discuss if that is really sensible, and actually it would have been better to let the user decide about the size of the preview images in the grid view. The other thing is the layout. You might as well notice that here you got here the catalog settings and here the Exif metadata, and in Luminar AI you got all things here on the right hand side. That isn't really that important as a difference, even though I would consider or propose that these Exif metadata and here general information should be placed by the user. That shouldn't be a problem, since other programs can do that too. But according to the Exif metadata, you see here that the information about the used lens is not displayed. If I go back to the catalog, that is displayed here in both programs, only here for, in my case, for Canon camera and lenses. And if I do that here in Luminar NEO, here the Exif metadata is displayed here, the Canon lens that was a 25 to 70 millimeter. But if I choose an image captured with the Lumix, the information about the lens is missing. You only got the used focal length with it, which is too bad. I think that shows in all places that Luminar NEO isn't really a final version yet. Okay, the background of both programs is, according to Skylum at least, that Luminar AI addresses the normal user, or which is not that affinite to photography like a pro user. So you got here the steps to process an image like templates, edit and export, of course. And Luminar NEO goes a different way or approaches this differently. It addresses the, according to Skylum, the more pro users. So you can right away go to the Edit tab for processing your image. And I think that both programs share maybe the same engine, or at least the same bugs. You can see here, if I open that one and edit, you see here a really saturated picture, and now I switch to the regular view, which you might get because this is so far unprocessed. And if I take the same image or a different image and do the same in Luminar AI, like for this one, I will skip the templates, and you see that in the single view, that is the same procedure. The images are displayed way oversaturated and colored in the grid view rather than in a single view or before starting processing the image. That's a little bit annoying. But when I go here in Luminar AI to the editing tab, might as well choose a different image like this one. But you can see it here already in the catalog or in the single view, and you go over in the edit tab. You can see here, okay, it's pretty small, but at least it's there. That is a histogram, which is completely missing here in the edit tab of Luminar NEO. But I'm not really missing this because the histogram in Luminar AI only is updated. Let's take here, for example, here under light, just a little bit exposure and contrast and so on. And if I go down with the exposure, you see that here and view the histogram, that is updated if I release this ruler. So that is not very useful. And so Skylum, please, if you implement the histogram in Luminar NEO, please adjust this arrow. The other things like develop here and in Luminar AI, the light are pretty similar. There are a couple of differences, what you can't or which are not implemented in Luminar AI, of course. That is, for example, here the relight situation, where you can relight the fore and the background. Maybe take another picture. Maybe take that one, go to edit and go to relight. And here I can pull down the brightness of the near parts of the image. If you calculate, you saw that. If I go here back and forth between the before and after view. And that is another thing implemented in Luminar NEO. Also the dust removal. If it was so important to implement a power line removal AI supported in the version 1.0, I doubt that. Skylum should have implemented other functions first before they go for the power lines, but okay, they decided as a company to do that. The other thing is what I'm missing here is, if I take, let's pull down here, it's just for showing you something like that. What I'm really missing is a before-after view and a split view like this one here in Luminar AI. Here in Luminar NEO, you only have the chance to processing images pretty slow. Here you got, if you click here on the eye, you get a before, and if you release it, you get an after view. But I would prefer this split view where I can choose which parts are shown or displayed as an after view and before view. Then if we go back to catalog, or we could have stayed on this, I'll make a revert on that, take like that. And if you follow the philosophy of Skylum in Luminar AI. As a not experienced user, I would first apply a template, and maybe I would choose a normal or easy landscape like this. But then I would like to see it in both program version, that you get at least some sort of preview of the preset used or which I choose here, only after I apply it to the image. The same is true here in Luminar NEO. We go back to the catalog, revert those changes, and maybe we go to that one, go to edit, and here you got the preset on this side. Go to easy landscape and go to, I'll go back to overcast, and let's say that one. And as you can see here, the effect is that some of those presets will affect the sky, and here that's pretty good. But on the other hand, you see some presets where not only the sky is affected in terms of contrast, saturation, and so on, but where the preset will exchange the sky area of the image. That can be good in sometimes, but there, because you don't see a preview of the preset, I would like to see that so you can judge yourself which preset you want to apply to your image. Okay, let's take, for example, this image here and go to Luminar AI and take the same one. Here, this little church. I'll revert the adjustments I made in a further session, and go to that one, go to edit. As you can, here's the same effect, of course, with the oversaturated image, and then displaying the right image or the right colors. Here you can see even the effect is not that bad, that you have distortion lines here on the church, and you can correct them by composition. And here you got a auto modus to correct the perspective, but the auto mode usually is not that good because it takes away too much of the parts of the image, like this you can see here. And here the church tower is at least over corrected, so you will revert that and correct it manually and take down the vertical just down a little bit like this. And after you calculated the new image, that looks pretty good. And that is a correction which is absolutely necessary for architecture photography. But when I go here on the same image here on Luminar NEO, you won't find any perspective correction here in Luminar NEO. So that's a big feature which is missing for the regular photography or image processing. Okay, that was that one. And last one I want to show you is in the future you have to do composition in the layer menu. And therefore we take this image again, sorry for that one. Go to edit, and here you can see the layer section which was inserted or implemented in the final version. Okay, but what you can see here is mainly overlays for certain effects, like here light effects or sparkling effects and so on. But I don't have the chance to add a new layer with the image and start to masking out, for example, here the church, and make it more contrasty or make it even black and white, as you just name it. You can't do that so far because you can't add a raw file. You have to convert it TIFF first, but that is not what I understand working with layers. And maybe this is due to the effect that Mask AI is not implemented so far. Maybe that will come in the next version. But what I tried out here in the Windows version was a sort of composition, and so I took a PNG file of the moon, which should have a transparent background, and by clicking that I add a new layer. And if Luminar NEO calculated this, you see just this image of the layer of the moon. And even if I change the mixing adjustment here in Luminar NEO, I can position the moon, but I don't really have the chance to bring it out to the image so it will fit and will result in a pretty good composition. Just to show it to you, I did the same here in a couple of minutes here with Photoshop. I loaded the same PNG file here in Photoshop that is transparent, and I copied it to a new layer here in the image, and then now I can move the moon, resize it, and even do further adjustment with this one, make it more contrasty and so on, just like you are used to when you're working with layers. So that can't be the final version, at least for the layers. Okay, as you could see, there are a whole lot of similarities between Luminar NEO and Luminar AI, just because they share at least the same development. Skylum says it's not the same engine, okay. And of course I like the renew relight function in Luminar AI, where you can adjust the exposure or lightning in different spaces of a scene, in the foreground, background, and so on. It's quite a good function in some cases and makes image processing for those images quite easier. But on the other hand, a lot of functions like enhance, sky enhancer, exchanging the sky completely and so on are also implemented in Luminar AI. And of course there are a couple of things missing in Luminar NEO, mainly, let's say, mask AI and some AI functions in portrait and body photography, which should be implemented or released on the next updates. As you could see here in the example, the catalog functions are not sufficient either in Luminar AI or Luminar NEO, and even the Exif metadata stored are not complete. As you could see here in my examples, the images taken with Lumix cameras and Lumix lenses, the Exif metadata, which lens was used for that image, aren't stored in the catalog. It's only stored for the Canon lenses and Canon cameras. Maybe some other lenses and camera brands have the same issues. And talking about the catalog, there are only albums to define by the user, but you even can search certain images taken with a certain camera or things like that. So the catalog functions are, sort of missing, I think. If it was a pretty good idea to share another app in this state, where the Luminar NEO app is only in version 1.0 or 1.01, is the questions. I wouldn't have done that. And if you take a look here on the Luminar Share app, it did improve on the view of the images, and now you can even delete the images shared to the Luminar Share app. But sharing the images to like social media is sort of a standard dialog which you can find in Android and iOS systems. So for that one, I think you don't need a app like Luminar Share. On the other hand, I had some issues connecting Luminar NEO to Luminar Share, and even though the app said there was no connection to Luminar NEO, the Luminar NEO program on my Windows system kept trying to export images to the Luminar Share app. And I personally think that is only usable with the cloud in between, where you can share your images to a cloud system and take them, if you like, on your mobile devices, whether it's a tablet or a smartphone. And all the time I kept saying that Luminar AI, and the same is true in my opinion for Luminar NEO, is a pretty good application as a plugin. But so far there is even an issue with the plugin function in Luminar NEO, which we take a look on now. Okay, I want to show you another effect I detected while testing Luminar NEO, and that is the plugin that doesn't work as expected, at least to me. Here I got this little picture here, which is not in the bright, which was not shot in the bright sun. We take that and do an edit in, and you can see here that Luminar NEO is listed, and here we get the message that you can edit a copy with the Lightroom adjustments. That of course is what we want, because we already added some minor adjustments here. And as you can see here, Luminar or Lightroom will generate a TIFF file and handle that over to Luminar NEO for further image processing. Okay, now what we do, we make this image a little bit darker. It's not really an image processing example. I want to show you a bug, and we switched the sky in this example, like this one, so we can distinguish the images and say apply. And after a short period of calculating, Luminar NEO should start exporting. That went really fast, but as you can see here, there is no difference in the two images. See that? Can even move close, there is no difference. Okay, now we take the original raw file here, that is a raw file, okay, and now we do an export and not an edit in. Choose Luminar NEO and the same with the Lightroom adjustments. And now Lightroom hasn't generated a TIFF right away, it's just handled over to Luminar NEO. And maybe we do the same here, bring down the exposure like this, and go to sky and substitute the sky with a little bit more fitting, like this one. I like that result. Okay, now we say apply, and after a short period of calculating, the file should be exported from Luminar NEO to Lightroom. See that here, and now is terminating Luminar NEO, and now you can see re-importing the image here, and that was done with the exporting plugin, and that now contains the changes I made, while edit in doesn't work. As you could see, the edit in function doesn't work as expected, but the export function works as expected. You can process the image in Luminar NEO, and the changed image is then re-imported into the Lightroom catalog. That might be an issue, it's a little bug, so I think Skylum will repair that with the next update. So far, Skylum stated that Luminar NEO and Luminar AI are supposed to be two different programs addressing two different kind of photographers or image processing. One, the Luminar AI addresses photographers which are not willing to go really deep into image processing or make it even easier. And Luminar NEO, of course, is sort of addressing the qualified amateur or even the professional photographer who doesn't mind getting into image processing. But I think there are some indices which state that Luminar AI might die in the near future. The first is that Luminar AI, according to their FAQ, is working on a migration tool for migrating the Luminar AI catalog to Luminar NEO, and the same is true for migrating self-defined presets from Luminar AI to Luminar NEO. So that might indicate a little bit that Luminar AI is dying in the near future. Another indication for that is that with the official release of Luminar NEO, Skylum introduced a subscription model for Luminar NEO. Now you can subscribe Luminar NEO for the price of 59 euros for a single user license for 1 year. And as I said, when Adobe introduced their subscription model, now the company is under the pressure to at least release new functions or improve bug fixes quite quickly because of the customers who are paying yearly or monthly for the application. And that to me is an indication that Luminar NEO will die and that it will concentrate on the Luminar NEO app as a final or only image processing tool from Skylum. Okay, that was my view on the Luminar final version and a little comparison to Luminar AI and where Luminar NEO is standing right now and where the future development might be. If you have any questions to that, you might place them in the comments to this video or in the comments to the corresponding blog post. And if this video was a little bit helpful to you, you might think about placing a like on the video. And I surely would appreciate it if you subscribe my channel, but don't forget to hit the bell so you get a notification every time I upload a new video. Okay, that was my little video on Luminar NEO, the final version. And all I have to say is till the next time, ciao, Tux Oche.